So a lot of my videos on my pages are, the intention was to show, like, that was after exploring what each frequency type, like internet frequency has to offer. And I got to really know myself in that position, and I think that is what the intention is. However, you get really sick minds involved with gambling, and it turns into, it definitely pulls out who really is sick in these dynamics. And I'm finding, some of the attacks made on medical providers are substantial. Like, there's, a reason why some of that stuff is occurring. However, I do get information, sometimes from seemingly the air, that it's possible to restore and heal those people who ended up in burnout and distress. And if you think about it, I just heard the phrase today, the snake eating its own tail. That is basically what the medical system is doing. It's flipping itself to where, I know, when I was working at the hospital, it sometimes, I don't know if it's true or not, I learned to question everything. But there was a coincidence that nurses are embarking upon more training of their preference. And that's just, but that is, I'm not 100% sure that is actually occurring outside of what AI was reflecting back to me. So it is actually it would be nice actually to have that occur, if it's not occurring, where nurses are if they want to stay in that profession, that they are looking at their preferences. Romance and sexuality needs a total fucking refurbish. Like that, when you got grown ass adults making groups like this, there's this is the wake up call that these people are getting. And so I'm just kind of, throwing it out there, because this isn't information to keister and to hide and to act like, it's a secret. There are some niches coming up for people that are, that have a stable sense of self. And, that one of them is, sexual health and medical care. Because that's not something, you can go live in a commune or live off the grid. You still need medical care. And if you're not holding your providers accountable, we have all these eyes everywhere. What the fuck? Where are these eyes when it comes to people who are actually are abusive? And I had an experience, I'm still processing, so I'm not talking about it that much, because I feel that shit came to my life, one, because I could handle it. Is that something I want to fucking handle anymore? Fuck no. And I had a really good talk with my higher power and those beings that definitely assisted in that situation. There was so much energy and shit coming, it affected me. And that's, and it affected me more when when I aligned with that practice. And so it's really important to understand, okay, the people and the practices are different because the people chose to use those practices to enforce their belief, what they want and what they do. Doesn't mean that that whole practice is trash. And the thing is like understanding, okay, so the question is, how do I influence, or if you're an influencer or like, you know, or you're a person of power in any kind of way, even like, you know, like teachers are a person of power, any kind of authority figure. You have power that you're responsible for. And I've learned, I've wondered why you know, like I've been presented with several opportunities, and it's like I fuck it up every time, but getting to know my body better, I'm understanding my body's protecting me in these spaces. It was giving me what I need to recover myself from my childhood shit. And but it definitely, so self-sabotage really, I know there's several different types of people on platforms now that can, you know, light the fire under your ass towards motivation. And some of you are really fucking powerful, and you know, a little motivational talk and you're off and running. However, sometimes some of these spaces are not for you. And so this is where listening to your body and understanding your preferences in life is fucking important in any kind of revolution. This is what we're dealing with now, is the cleanup of, you know, people not understanding that and going to war. You know, like crimes of passion has everything to do with the inability to fucking communicate. And then being told like, oh, well, you know, like sexual relationships are only one way. And it's like, we just don't have a solid way of communicating about that. And I highly suggest, if you're in any kind of multiple partner, multifaceted fucking preferences, now is a good time. Your new niche is understanding how to be assertive and clear without doing more fucking damage to people. And you're gonna find, like, you know, like I found humans are so fucking like loving and agreeable. Like, you don't need to go through all of that shit to even get somebody. Like, there's people that would fucking die for certain people. No shit. And we're doing this, like, that's enough is enough. And so that's kind of where, like, I started realizing, like, this is more than like my little heartbreak, or not to downplay that, what I went through in these last few years and how my children were used to put me through that is not, it was devastating and it was detrimental. And it's like whatever, like little fucking diabolical fucking short man plan that was, like, bitch on a stick, like, enough is enough. You know, wishing people harm when you don't need to or have to, or feigning that they are harming people and imposing that harm on them, you're missing the point. And there's a lot of people out there who are really going through domestic violence and violent acts, and that is where we need to focus, if that is going to be your focus. And understanding yourself sexually and understanding your preferences in a partner, if that's what you want to do in your life to settle down, is fucking important. It's important, because half of this stuff would not occur if we knew, like on the ground, how to say no. I'm refining that for me, you know, like I'm a highly sexual being. and imposing celibacy. I found that was like some weird mate guarding shit too. Like you use this stuff to impose more harm on people's lives. Like that's not gonna go well for you. It's not. And I'm not saying that in a wishful manner. I'm saying it's not gonna fucking go well for you. And here's some suggestions on how to use that time for you to clean that shit up. We have some really real problems due to in consideration with education. And it's time, like to stop using these different types of, gods and goddesses, we'll say, entities to impose more bullshit and create more genocidal fucking like that's done. That's not something, that's not what this planet or that's not what gods prefer. And then to turn around and insult your maker like that, to say that, oh, it's spiritual war. So what I have been, like receiving for a long time, like almost 6-7 years now, is to take what I learned and create a way to collaborate and like corral people who are left of those situations, because they are some form of leaders. They just got steered in a fucked up direction. Like, and that's including with your art, like in your music and stuff, like using that stuff to hurt people, or even I found even prematurely utilizing that stuff as your voice before you even know how to use your own voice is it's not okay. And so this is the approach I'm taking right now, is doing my best to figure out how to build a lifestyle, but also present ways people can get back into their bodies on the ground, and recognize what it is that is already created, apart from somebody who distorted the creation for people to do just that. A lot of our slave, like types of jobs, those like those conveyor belt jobs and shit like that, are like you can utilize that as a way to meditate, or recognize how you meditate, how you hold your body, what you do in doing that. Do I support the Industrial Revolution? Not really, but I support its people. Or I support its people, like, because those people endure, like they definitely have an endurance of empathy that is undeniable. And that's not something that you can just absorb and be. You can pretend to be that for a little bit. You can put that on as a mask or as an environment, but it's not something that you can actually embody and be unless you've been. It's like anything. Same with exercise. You can dance that shit up in your head all day and feel that empowerment, but unless you take those steps towards being that or having that, it doesn't work. And this is where half of our fatalities are occurring, because people wake up from that shit and then they start blaming other people for their fucking choices. And like, and that's a tricky fucking fine line too, because like like for me, I was studying law of attraction, I was in all of this buoyant abundant energy, but I wasn't seeing what the fuck was going on right in front of me. And finally, and I like the intention of all that shit was like, oh, you wake up into it and you feel stupid and you want to hurt yourself. Like, no more.
Other, like, and it's starting to be a realization, like, if you know how to fucking run your own energy, you can power the whole fucking world. The ways that that shit was organized is like a no bueno. Like, that it's like some, like, little, like, little diabolical man syndrome shit that, of course only kids would, or young people would fucking agree with, and I just like, and most moms, given the chance, they'll heal. But you have to have something fucking available for them that is comprehensive and doable. I haven't yet. I haven't yet not had to work while processing all of this stuff. I've had subliminal offers that I played, like, entertained for a little bit, and then I realized, like, this isn't. It didn't feel it. And I don't know, because I didn't entertain it long enough to understand, and I'm not buying into that. I think that we have brick and mortar businesses and establishments and stuff for a reason, and that is one of the reasons why, because people fucking play with this shit way too much. So if you can understand, yeah, you might have to go to work today, but keep working on those aspects of you that brings about significant change. And especially if you're in the educational system, that needs an overhaul for sure. It needs an overhaul. And I'm just now coming out of, I'm realizing, like, I was definitely embodying a male energy that broke into some of these truths, and that wasn't a good time. That wasn't a good time. I was fucking paranoid. I, like, have a bunch of gibberish written in journals. There's some very significant stuff too, as well. But, like, I rode in that reality way too long, and but it helped me work through vanity and arrogance. I was immersed in it. And speaking, if you're a person of color, one of the mistakes that I made is that, is to, like, the this spiritual stuff in the tiered ways where you end up, you're not talking, you're not working on shit. The trick is acknowledge, let it go. Acknowledge your path may be the path to correct things that need to be corrected so that it could be smoother for the last guy. But, like, I'm just now getting pictures of, like, what people are actually doing with that, and it's like, it's time that we start strengthening our individual self-esteem beyond marketing, for sure. Like, some of this stuff is, like, too serious to be fucking around like that. That's not a game. When people are severely harmed, it's not a game anymore. And I found, like, at my little bit of experience within the medical system, like, like, the setups for people to get more consumers, it's like, that is definitely a young person's fucking idea, like, solution that got slipped through. Like, fuck. Like, I was, like, in this pod where all these nurses were, like, fucking tired because they were running with, probably the people that you helped to get there. So I think, I think globally people need to be reminded, harm to none. Harm to none. Harm to none. And there are some people who prefer that. And if you know, as a sensitive, not to be that hungry and thirsty with somebody who prefers, misogyny and is masochist, you're, like, you'll wait and you'll prepare yourself for that. energy that is for you. And so here we go.